Modified to New Hampshire International Speedway. And the Busch Grand National season got off to a rough start for Kelly Bouchard and Ricky Craven. But for Joe Bessie, it was a great day at New Hampshire International Speedway.
This is Walter England at its absolute best. Tall trees and a touch of spring in the air. Fact is, this is Loudon, New Hampshire. Well, wait a minute. Loudon, New Hampshire isn't quiet and peace. It's excitement, too, because it houses the only super speedway of the North, the New Hampshire International Speedway. Hello, I'm Ben Dodge, and I welcome you to yet another edition of Race Week. Well, in this edition of Race Week, we were scheduled to bring you the excitement for more Saturday night competition from Riverside Park Speedway. But unfortunately, heavy rains forced that event to be postponed. But what we do have for you is twin 125s from the New Hampshire International Speedway. The NASCAR Winston Modified Tour were a major part of this program, and so was the Busch Grand National North. As Dan Wolf takes a look at 125 laps of racing for the Busch Grand National Circuit and more.
Beautiful spring weather here at New Hampshire International Speedway as 55 Busch Grand National North cars attempted to qualify for 40 starting positions in today's Busch Grand National North New Hampshire Lottery 125. 1987 Busch Grand National North champion Joey Carapaz was on the pole with a fast time of 31.168 seconds at 122.202 miles an hour.
This is a big turnaround and a good morale booster for the team. We knew we had a shot at it coming into this thing, and everything just went just right for us. We didn't win it by much, but we won it, and that's what counts.
Rick Craven of Pembroke, New Hampshire, had won the last 3 Busch poles for Grand National North cars here at New Hampshire, and he started second.
I love this place. I think this place was built for me. There's something about the track, I adapt to it really well, and I've been here now with 2 different cars that have 2 different personalities, and I've been able to work them out. And, I guess it's just accustomed to it. We're happy with the way we qualified. Not overwhelmed because we didn't get the pole, but Joey deserves some credit. He had a good lap, and now we got to put it together for 125 laps and use a little bit of strategy and get up to first.
Modified driver Tony Hirschman was doing double duty, and he qualified 3rd fastest in his Busch Grand National North debut.
I really like him a lot. We run real well at Richmond. It was unfortunate I got in a practice crash before the race, and we never really started. So qualified 3rd here today, and we're looking to try to finish this thing and see what we can do with the car.
Defending Busch Grand National North champion Jamie Obey qualified 17th with his new team.
Well, we're pretty optimistic. It's a pretty tough field up here. Some great teams and some real good equipment now, and kind of our work cut out for us. But, with Citgo sponsoring us and the same great crew that I've had, new crew chief, Rick Gagnon, a longtime friend and a heck of a guy, I think we've got a real good shot at it.
Although defending champion Jamie Obey started deep in the field, it was Joey Carapaz on the pole for the Busch Grand National North portion of the twin 125s, with Rick Craven of nearby Pembroke, New Hampshire, on the outside. At the start, Rick Craven took over the lead, lap number 1, as pole sitter Joey Carapaz dropped to 4th. By lap 12, Craven began to lap back markers, and veteran Mike Rowe of Turner, Maine, had moved into 2nd place, followed by Kelly Moore, Joe Bessie, Ron Lamell, Ken Bouchard, and Joey Carapaz. The first caution period of the day came when Joe Bessie spun along with Jimmy Fields and Tony Sylvester. During the caution, leader Rick Craven pitted, as did Joe Bessie, Ron Lamell, Ken Bouchard, and Dale Shaw. Mike Rowe took over at the front on lap 21, and back under green, Rowe furiously swapped the lead with Kelly Moore in car number 47. The second caution of the day came on lap 38 as Lloyd Gilly backed car number 39 into the wall. That car was heavily damaged, and Gilly was out for the day. During the caution, many of the top cars were in for service, and defending Busch Grand National North champion Jamie Obey received a 15-second penalty for overshooting his pit area. Several teams reported tire blistering in the early going, and NASCAR then allowed unlimited tire changing. We talked to leader Rick Craven's crew chief about his tire situation.
I really don't think so. We're running pretty good. That speedy oil change and tune-up lumen is hooked up good today. And if we keep getting cautions like this, I think we can spend the rest of the day out there.
By lap 50, Joe Bessie had taken the lead with Rick Craven, Ron Lamell, Ken Bouchard, and Dale Shaw following. The third caution of the day came on lap 55 for an incident that damaged the racers of Stub Fadden, Mike Rowe, Joey Carafas, Dave Davis, and Wayne Hellewell. During the lengthy caution period, front-runner Kelly Moore pitted with a problem under the hood. Back under green, Rick Craven regained the lead and led the field from lap 65 until lap 86 when Joe Bessie moved under Craven for the lead. On lap 96, Ken Bouchard moved under Ron Lamell to claim third place. Caution on lap number 99 for debris on the speedway bunched the field with Joe Bessie the leader. Rick Craven faded from second to fifth on the restart. And on lap 109, Craven moved under Ken Bouchard to challenge for third place. Bouchard and Craven bumped, spinning Bouchard and bringing out the fifth caution of the event. During the caution period, both Craven and Bouchard pitted, and Bouchard vented his displeasure with Rick Craven. On the restart, it was Joe Bessie, followed by Mike McLaughlin, Jamie Obey, Johnny Ling Jr., and Tony Hirschman. Caution bunched the field again on lap 118 when Glenn Sullivan spun car number 87 in turn 2. And when the green flag flew on lap 122, Joe Bessie of Scarborough, Maine fought off the final challenge by Mike McLaughlin for his first victory at New Hampshire International Speedway. Mike McLaughlin of Waterloo, New York was second. Jamie Obey of North Ferrisburg, Vermont was third. Fourth place went to Donnie Ling Jr. of Brick, New Jersey. Fifth place went to Tony Hirschman of Northampton, Pennsylvania. Mike Rowe, Ricky Craven, Dick McCabe, Kelly Moore, and Dale Shaw rounded out the top 10. Joe Bessie was one happy driver when we caught up with him in Victory Lane.
I'm sure I did. Did it surprise you? We've been strong. We were strong here all last year and just never got the right brakes. We got noticed on Labor Day weekend there and we ran out of gas, and that was our own fault for not planning a little better than we did. But we've had a strong car up here. I got a good team. I had a whole bunch of people that have been behind me, and last year we just had a disastrous year. And God, we needed, between having a decent run in Daytona and then this, I think we're off to one heck of a season.
Joe run good. He deserved to win. He was the quickest car. We were just a little too tight, but the Coors Extra Gold machine run good, and Mike and Harry Grieche and the crew did a good job. Next time we'll just see if we can free it up a little bit, and maybe we'll get them.
With over $110,000 in prize money today for the Busch Grand National North, they will return to New Hampshire International Speedway on July 14th for the Budweiser 300 with the Busch Grand National South. From New Hampshire International Speedway reporting for Raceweek, I'm Dan Wolf.
Thanks, Dan. Well, next we're going to be taking a commercial break, and when we come back, we'll be taking a look at one of the most exciting events ever run on the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour, as 34 of the nation's very best modified drivers try their skills super speedway style from New Hampshire International Speedway. Time for the greatest race in the history of spring, the Spring Sizzler from the Stafford Motor Speedway. We'll also be taking a look at the Coors Actor from the St. Air Super Speedway. And the Super Modifieds are back in action for the season opener at Star Speedway. Well, now it's time to take a look at one of the most spectacular events ever run on the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour. Now, usually when you tune in to watch us here on Raceweek, we kind of abbreviate and bring it down to just a small segment. Well, this event was just too good to make into a small segment. So sit back and enjoy the men of the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour for one of their best runs ever at the New Hampshire International Speedway for a look at 125 laps of modified racing at its best.
$110,000 was the main attraction for 125 laps for the men of the NASCAR Winston Modified Tour. And the surprise in this event, with a speed of 130 miles an hour, was the pole setter, Mike Iwanitzko. But the big question was, did Mike Iwanitzko really expect to set fast time?
No, we were yesterday during warm-ups. We were fast all day, and we just loosened the car up a little bit for time, and basically the time we turned the time trials were where we were running in practice all day.
One of the toughest guys to beat would be starting right alongside, and that was Mike Stefanik. Remember, Mike Stefanik had finished runner-up to Mike McLaughlin last year.
Oh, yeah, that's true. We qualified second fastest in the ADAP Auto Palace H&H Pontiac, but we hope to better that by 1 today and bring this home in victory lane. The car felt really good. The Hoosier tires were quick in time, but I think as the race progresses, I believe the Goodyear tires will prevail, and so I think we're in good shape. We have a good race set up, and I hope to bring the car home in victory lane.
When it comes down to the later stages of this race, who do you predict it will be? Mike Stefanik and one other driver trying to eke out a victory.
Well, I'll tell you, there's a number of drivers that can win this race today. It's really hard to say. The draft's so important. It depends who gets hooked up with who. You got to kind of find a friend out there, I think, if you want to get back to the front after your pit stop. So friends will prevail, I think, and then you always got greed that sets in on the last lap. So I'd like to be out in front and gone, but I don't think that's going to happen. I'd say, I don't know. There's about 8 or 10 guys that can fill that slot.
Well, that's right, Mike. Lucky for you, they're starting behind you. But now it was time for the official command. And the man of the NASCAR Modified Tour had them fired up. They were all ready. The $110,000 attraction was in reach for these competitors. But on this day, Magic Shoes Mike McLaughlin, defending race winner, will be driving for a new team, the Kurt Chase number 77. Could Mike McLaughlin pull it off? In just a few seconds, the answer would be told, as the field was starting to pull away from the starting lineup. Mikey Winitsko and Mighty Mike Stefanik making up the front row. The battle was on, with Jan Leedy and George Kent in row number 2. Jeff Fuller and Tom Baldwin making up the third row, followed by Jamie DeMeno and Donald Satchworley. Then it was George Wilhutzel and Reggie Ruggiero, Carl Pastriak and John Preston. As the field would go to green, it was Mikey Winitsko who looked strong initially as the field would head towards turn 1. The parade of cars in rows of 2 were ready. As they went into the turn, it was Mikey Winitsko who would quickly start to pull away. Then Leedy would dive to the inside to try to muscle up enough steam. Down the back straightaway, it was Winitsko still in command, with Leedy running the inside lane as Stefanik was holding on as the pressure was being applied in the outside groove. Further back in the competition, the story was pretty much the same, but it was still Winitsko to lead him back to the line. Then suddenly George Kent, Tom Baldwin, and Jeff Fuller would try to thread the needle to get to the front of the field. Donald Satchworley would be to the outside of Jeff Fuller. Then suddenly on lap number 4, the first caution would come out. Bruce D'Alessandro had spun with car number 37. And while all that was happening, it was Jeff Fuller who was heading to the pits with a flat right rear tire. And this would cost him dearly. Front runner in the competition just 1 week ago at Thompson Speedway would have a long way to go, but there was still plenty of time left in the actual competition. The Fuller machine was being jacked up down on pit road, and back towards the front of the field, it was still Mikey Winitsko and Mighty Mike Stefanik setting in the number 2 spot. As the field would prepare to go back to green, it was Baldwin who made a bold bid to the inside of George Kent. Couldn't quite muster enough steam this time, and not far behind was Satchworley and Reggie Ruggiero. Still at the front of the class, the Hoosier Tire Tony's Auto Machine, number 36 for Mikey Winitsko. Mighty Mike Stefanik was still there, and Leedy would take a bold peek to the inside. Not enough this time, as George Kent would look for some racing room, with Tiger Tom Baldwin to the inside and putting the pressure on. Further back in the pack, Baldwin now would try to make the full move, with George Kent on the outside. The battle was now on for position number 4. Then it was car number 4 for Donald Satchworley to contend. While that was happening, a bid for the lead. It was Mighty Mike Stefanik to become leader number 2. 9 laps into the record books, it was Stefanik in command. Jan Leedy was right there as a factor. As Winitsko would falter to the outside, George Kent would move in, making it 3 cars contending for the number 1 spot. The top 10 cars were still tightly packed, as Leedy was literally all over the back bumper of Mike Stefanik. Mikey Winitsko was not far behind, and Baldwin, along with Satchworley and now Jamie DeMeno, were all considered factors. A shuffle of the deck, no moves this time, but Leedy would try, but Mike Stefanik would maintain the number 1 spot. It was still Stefanik in command. Then Leedy had the power. He moved to the bottom. Winitsko would try to make the power work for him as he would try to take over position number 2. Leader number 3 in the competition put Jan Leedy at the front of the class. with Stefanik now running in second. George Kent pressuring Ivanitsko for positions number 3 and 4. And Jamie the Jet Tomato, the defending champion, was on the move on the inside. But Satch Worley wasn't leaving any ground to be unturned with car number 4. Leedy in command, drafting at its best, with Stefanik to the inside, looking to take back the number 1 spot. Leedy would hold on, but be no match for Stefanik when another caution would come out. On lap number 25, Kirby Monteith would spin in turn number 2. This would bring out the second caution of the event and tighten things back up. Once things started to settle down, the competition would resume, with Stefanik in command of the event. Then suddenly, on lap number 32, the third caution. Doug Heveron was involved, and so wasn't Richard Savory. For Savory, his day had ended. For Heveron, he'd have to do it from the back of the pack. Now suddenly everyone's attention had shifted to the pit area. It was Jamie the Jet Tomato into the pits. Tom Baldwin had overshot his pit area and would have to go back out. Poor strategy by the number 17. But for the Jet, it was a quick tire change. Right side rubber would be the story for car number U2. And Tommy Bowles, who was also a factor among the top 10. He too would be quick in the pits. Right side rubber was the story on the Bowles Eagle. Charlie Pastriak, the same situation would occur for car number 5. Then the Jet team decided that a left rear tire was also needed if Tomato was going to be a factor in the later laps of this event. Back to green, lap cars on the outside. Stefanik takes advantage of things once again. Jan Leedy right there on his back bumper, and not far behind was Reggie Ruggiero with car number 69. It was Leedy still running in second. Further back, Ricky Fuller had broken away. And car number 77, Mike McLaughlin, was on a roll. So wasn't Richie Gallup with car number 0. It was still Mike Stefanik in command. Leedy looks for some racing room that didn't exist. And the Reg was also a factor in position number 3. Fourth caution of the event. Richie Gallup would be involved, and so was in car number 99 for Tim Ayer. Back towards the pit area, John Preston with car number 72. The story was a flat left rear tire as he would try to get back to the pit area. But that wasn't the only story that was about to be told. Back down on pit road, Richie Gallup had flat right side tires on car number 0. He would lose a lap in this move in the pit area. And the cars that brought out the caution, Dunk Rudolph with car number 38 and George Brunhutzel with car number 28. The Brunhutzel car was towed back to the pit area. Quick pit work got him back into the competition. But back down on pit road, just 2 laps later, it was car number 69, the Reg, down into the pits, along with the number 21 of George Kent. Jeff Fuller was back into the pit area too. And Tony Hirschman would also go to the pits. He too would become a factor here. New tires was being installed. The setup was about to change. Richie Gallup would make it back out of the pit area. And the field was about to go back to green. Mighty Mike Stefanik on the inside again. Leedy right there was a factor. The slower cars on the outside, that's the way the restarts were. It was Stefanik still in command. Leedy right there. Now Ricky Fuller had worked his way up to the 4th spot. Remember, Richie Gallup was trying to make up a lap that he lost in the pit area. Donald Satchworley and Tom Baldwin were all considered factors. Then it was Leedy to move back to the front of the class. Mike Ivanitsko also threading the needle to the inside. And Ricky Fuller had now become a major factor, setting in the 4th spot with car number 44. They would head off the turn. It was still Leedy in command. Ivanitsko right there in second. And now Stefanik was pressured heavily by the McBeth's number 44 for Ricky Fuller. Fuller had now snuck into position number 3. He was contending now among the top 3 cars. Leedy was still in command. Ivanitsko was still hunting him down when Fuller would make a bold, aggressive slingshot move to the inside, giving Ricky Fuller position number 2. But not satisfied for the 2nd spot, it was Ricky Fuller looking to take over the number 1 position. The McBeth-powered race car would try to set the pace on the inside. Ivanitsko would drop directly behind him, as now Ricky Fuller was in command with car number 44. It was Ivanitsko now in the 2nd, Leedy for 3rd. 4th spot was still Mighty Mike Stefanik, and 5th spot was now car number 4 for Satchworley. The top 4 cars, check that, 5 cars, were stringing it out at the front of the field. Ivanitsko was back in command. Fuller had to now settle for position number 2. Leedy was right there as a factor, as Satchworley was patiently waiting in the wing. It was now a bid to reverse the lead, as Rick Fuller would try it again on the bottom. Then suddenly, Kirby Monteith's engine would go up in smoke. Danny Watts would spin to the inside of the racetrack. Now this would set a parade of cars to the pit area. Ricky Fuller, George Kett, Mike Stefanik, the very best. The front-running cars were now all suddenly in the pits. Fuller was leading that charge. Stefanik was right there. The ADAP Auto Palace team were ready to put Stefanik back to the front of the field. But the same strategy was also on the mind of all the front-running teams, including Jamie the Jet Tomato with car number U2. Then suddenly the Tomato team would have the hood off the automobile. 56 laps in the record book, and there's still a lot more left. We'll be back with the final laps of the competition for the 125 for the modified and the hit. And George Kett, the story was pretty much the same, with right side rubber being put on the car. Back up to speed, it was Mighty Mike Stefanik hunted down by Ricky Fuller. The final lap would tell the story. Stefanik, the leader in the competition, Fuller right there as a contender. But who would it be? Suddenly, down the back straightaway, last chance to get the job done. Fuller would make a bold, aggressive move to the outside, but it was still Mighty Mike Stefanik in command. Fuller running in second, McLaughlin for position number 3. What would it be at the wire? They come off the turn. Mighty Mike Stefanik looking for another big payday. He would bring them back to the line. It was Stefanik to take down the victory. The ADAP Auto Palace team have did it once again from New Hampshire International Speedway. So far, in 4 events, Mike Stefanik had won over $40,000, this being a $17,000 plus payday. Ricky Fuller had finished in second over Mike McLaughlin, with Doug Hemeron and Reggie Ruggiero to round out the top 5. 6th through 10th was Satch Worley over Tony Hirschman, Wayne Anderson, Bobby Park, and Carl Pastriak. And 2 out of 4 wasn't bad for Mike Stefanik.
Yeah, I'll tell you, that race, it could have went in anybody's pit. Them last 6-7 cars running right there in a tight pack. Reggie was good on the outside, so I followed him on a couple of his outside moves. On his inside moves, he wasn't that good, so I wouldn't follow him on his inside moves. I was just trying to learn all them cars as quick as I could and just try to use them to get to the front.
It was a good afternoon. The Fiore 44 car ran real well. We've got a fresh McBeth's motor in it, and we had our share of Goodyear tires that we bolted on. The car ran real good for us. It was a shame that we couldn't pick up the right draft on the last lap there, but second isn't so bad.
And what does this do for the modified tour point standings? It puts Mike Stefanik back at the front of the field with 651 points. And guess who's hunting him down? Doug Hemeron in second, over Ricky Fuller in third, Tom Baldwin, and Reggie Ruggiero.
Well, that's going to kind of wrap things up for this edition of Race Week. We remind you that our air time for this week's Race Week is 4:30. It'll remain the same for next week and 10:30 on Saturday morning. For the month of May, we'll move into a brand new time slot for Race Week. It'll be 6:30 on Thursday night. Well, we'll be seeing you this weekend at the Spring Sizzler, as next week's show will have the excitement from there and a whole lot more. Take care. Bye-bye now.